little segment here is one of the series that we're doing for 100 Families Alliance members. And so this is an equipping session. I've been in the place of direct service before. I've heard from many of the Alliance members that, as you're meeting individuals who are actively using, that have substance abuse disorder, you feel ill-equipped to deal with that situation with the individual. And so what we thought we would do is we'd have a series of these kind of training videos, discussions to help you do what you do better. And then ultimately what we all hope is that we can help someone and make the community that we live in the types of communities that are good for all of us. And so I'm gonna switch cameras over here. We got some fancy tech and not a very fancy tech driver. But I want to introduce you to friends of mine, Kelli and Russell. Kelli and Russell know a lot about recovery, know a lot about substance abuse disorder, substance use. And so Kelli, why don't you start? What do you do professionally? And then how did you come into that profession?
Okay, so what I do is I'm a peer recovery support specialist at the Cersei Police Department. I also work alongside with the Central DTF on overdoses.
What is DTF?
Drug Task Force.
Okay. How did you become a peer support specialist?
Okay, so
I forgot a word in there, but how did you become a peer?
Okay, so I'm a recovering addict myself, which for me, the peer recovery support specialist is a fancy word of saying I'm a person with addiction recovering on a day-to-day basis with all the struggles that we have, when we do recover, or when we are recovering. I am put in a position because at one point I was like, because of my addiction, I'm where I'm at. But actually, because I'm recovering from my addiction, is why I'm in the as a peer that I'm at today. Like, and what I want to do is help others recover and introduce them to communities and to different ways of life, that will save their own life.
Okay. And Russell, what do? You're professionally, you're also a certified or a licensed peer?
Peer, yeah, PIT. So, yeah, I'm also in school for psychology. I have a semester left and I'll be done with that.
Yay.
Yeah, so I stumbled across this whole peer support movement while I was getting into my first semester of college. And I'm going to college to become a drug counselor. So it was just like a natural fit. When I went through the training, they had a seminar, and I was sold. I was all in. Basically, it's somebody with lived experience, some training on different areas on how to deal with people and take people as they are and recognize certain signs and stuff like that. But yeah, it's more so people with lived experience with mental health disorder or substance abuse. And I kind of had both. So, and then I had the background of incarceration. So
my understanding is that you have some certification under the Arkansas Substance Abuse Licensing Board. I don't know that I got all that right, but it's the board that oversees drug and alcohol, substance abuse professionals. Yeah. And peers now recognized. This is fairly new in the last couple of years. It's a recognized new certification. Right. And my understanding
in the state of Arkansas.
In the state of Arkansas. Yeah. But it's been done inside the VA for a while, and the peers work with other licensed professionals as a team to try to help individuals. And so I do. So my first kind of question to you is, as peers, as professionals, but also having some lived experience, is, I've been in direct service for for a number of years, 15, 16 years now. And I work with a lot of very good people who mean well, but feel ill-equipped to help someone who's actively using, and all the chaos that's around kind of that. And so can you help us understand the mindset of someone who's currently doing that, is suffering from substance abuse disorder? They're not clean. They're in their addiction. What's going on in the mind of an addict? Because especially if you care about someone who's in this situation, it's a incredibly, excruciatingly hard and frustrating and angering thing to watch. But what's going on in kind of the addict's mind?
Well, I'm thinking, like, when I was in my addiction, like, I know that people, my family, would look at me and they would be like, Kelli, I just want to shake you. What is wrong with you? And as I'm caught up in the grip to my disease, like, I know that I'm destroying my life. I know that I'm not taking care of my kids. I know that I'm not working a job. I know that I'm not being an adult. What I do know is I'm doing things that are destroying me. I'm living in animalistic behaviors. I hate what I'm doing, but I don't know how to do anything else. I feel like a failure already. So, it's hard to understand how a person is killing themselves when we don't understand it ourselves. We don't understand why we're doing these drugs that could kill us. We don't understand that, why can she be a great mom with a great family? Why am I not having that? It's hard to understand as a using addict, and it's hard to understand as family, friends, someone on the other side. And the truth for me is, like, I understand because I've been there. I've been there when people's been begging me to get clean, when my kids are begging me to come home. And I've been there wanting to get clean, going to rehabs, going here, trying this, thinking I was ready, had that gift of desperation, and yet there I go again. I go again with one person coming to my door or one telephone call. I can be sitting there telling someone, oh, I've got 30 days and I'm so excited. Someone knock on my door. I don't think about that 30 days. My addiction has kicked in. I'm off and running. Who knows if it's going to be a year, 30 days, who knows where I'm going to end up, if I'm going to live, if I'm going to die. But in that moment, when my disease hits me, it starts talking to me, like, if I don't have something to back myself up, like the program I'm in, and working with other recovering addicts and working with other people in recovery, like, you have to have a team of people, a support group.
I would say, and I don't mean to cut you off, but the mindset is an addict's mindset is being overpowered by a compulsive thinking, a one-track minded thinking. And some people don't recognize that they're destroying their life. That's why you see a lot of people on street corners with signs, and they're not making that connection that, man, something's wrong. You know what I mean? So I would say that the mindset is being overpowered by compulsive thinking and a one-track minded thinking. And then, like you said, living an animalistic life, the human just adapts. So you adapt to a different way of living.
So what I'm kind of understanding here is that it's not necessarily like a logical progression. Trying to understand it using kind of logic in some sense, it just can't be explained. It is a part of some people's condition where you may be aware that you're doing great harm, and you may even feel great shame and sorrow for doing that, but you almost feel caught up in the
I would say
spiral?
The reason why it's hard for people to comprehend it is because of free will. Like, we all have free will, and when you think at it with that mindset, you're not understanding that addict that is suffering doesn't have free will. His free will has been taken away from him by this compulsive wanting to use more and more and more. So that's a big thing.
So, so then what could I do? Then what could we do? What can an alliance member that's, let's use someone who's just started to work for an adult education center. They're highly trained, they're motivated, they've decided that they want to help folks maybe get a GED or some certification into the workforce, but they're constantly confronted. I see this all the time in our alliances. They're constantly confronted with kind of the trouble or the dysfunction that's around substance abuse. And even if their student may be clean and maybe never had a problem, maybe their family, their loved one that's sitting in the truck out in the parking lot that drove them there is, I mean, we've seen this. Maybe they go off, and by the time class is over, they can't drive.
Yeah.
But you watch that in and out, and you see the impact on the family. What do we do there? How would you recommend that we even start to approach or engage someone?
First off, more conversations like this is needed, and to be empathetic and understanding, and be more educated on the addiction process and the recovery process as well. And then understanding that it just doesn't affect one person, because that one person belongs to a family, so it affects the whole family.
And I would like to say, like, the disease does run through the family. But so does recovery. Like when someone sees you and they know that you've been in addiction your whole life, they see you doing well, they're like, what is she doing? And then your parents or your other family, whether they're in addiction or not, they're seeing something working for you. They're seeing your behavior change. Even if they don't quite believe in what you're doing or know what you're doing, they are seeing something different about you change. And that could change.
That could break the change.
That could break the change, it's not really about what we say we're doing. It's how are we living, and people see that, especially people that know us, and you were talking about like, what could the counselors or teachers or whatever do, for me, it's like, keep it simple. Give me a starting point, don't the thing for me and when I'm working with my peers is like, don't hand me a stack of papers this big, and ask me to fill them out and just help me fill them out. In my addiction, filling out paperwork hasn't been what I do, that's not that hasn't been my top priority of filling out paperwork or, just making things simple.
Yeah.
Because some of the most simplest thing to a regular person might be the reason we say, man, I'm not doing that. That's just too hard. That's just too much, you know?
I say taking people as they are and working and meeting them where they're at and working with them where they're at. And I say working with them, so that involves them to do some kind of work on their part. And they'll show you with their actions if they're serious about, recovering and wanting to change.
So let's talk about that, because I've been doing this 16 years. I haven't made every mistake, but I've sure made a lot of mistakes in trying to engage with folks. I've given money and rides and assets and been stolen from and all those things. So let's talk about what are some indicators that someone really means it, rather than, oh man, I just that whole recovery thing and getting into residential and you can get me in, next week. That's great, but man, can you hook me up? I just need, the hotel tonight. So 40, Russell, just give me $40, man. That's all I need.
Yeah, so I would say, and this comes with lived experience, that giving an addict enough space and the right opportunity, a functioning addict will do anything. And with that mindset, you can better meet and deal with a functioning or a addict that's in the process of wanting to change. And if you keep that in mind, you won't be riding around with them alone. You won't be giving them $40, $50 here and there. You would want to get them, hey, I can take you to this treatment center. I can take you to this homeless shelter for a couple of days. I can do this for you. I can help you walk with you and help you accomplish what you want to do. Because what works for me is not going to work for you.
That's important. So Kelly, I don't know how you got clean, but I would imagine it'd be with some help.
Right.
And a group of some sort. Would you mind sharing kind of, the group that helped you or the fellowship you were part of? And then let's talk about maybe other ways that someone gets clean or is in recovery.
Right. Well, that sounds great to me. So I do Narcotics Anonymous, and it's a 12-step fellowship, and it has truly been a blessing for me. There are other ways to recover, and like I used to be very prejudiced and very judgmental about how a pathway of getting clean. Like you had to do it this way or it wasn't going to work. Their way doesn't work. And I believed that at one time. Like I just believed it. And through my position.
Because it worked for you?
Because it worked for me. Yeah, it's working for me, and so what I've realized is like there's tons of different ways to get clean. And it's not a competition. The top goal for me is that we all find a higher power, a God of our understanding. And so and it doesn't matter what road we path. If we want to do any kind of 12-step program, faith-based, people have all different kind of avenues to recovery. Whatever works for someone, whatever keeps them alive, whatever has them on a journey of living a healthy life. Yeah. Who cares how you get there? It's not a competition.
Because with a healthy individual comes a healthy community.
Right.
And maybe a healthy world. You never know.
Hey.
Well, it's definitely, here in Arkansas, it seems that drug use is pretty prevalent. Mm-hmm. And I'd say since, I'm 50 now, I'd say in the last 30 years, I expect that it's probably more prevalent now and that the drugs are more potent now, more dangerous.
Right.
And maybe harder to quit now than they were 30 years ago.
Right.
Just through technology and being able to kind of tune these things up in labs. Right. And so, and we've seen, especially with kind of the opioids, opiates,
right.
The oxys, the hydros, so all your prescription stuff, the synthetic, real concentrated fentanyls, the heroin, those, people die
right.
all the time because kind of that high that they're chasing is so close to them stopping breathing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah.
And so we've seen a lot of people around the nation really in the past 5, 6, I don't know how long the
right.
opioid crisis has been going on, but it hit Arkansas. The first problem that I saw that was registered in Arkansas was in 2015 with the overdose heat map. It started kind of in the Sebastian Crawford area. Western Arkansas came in from Oklahoma.
Right.
But methamphetamine's been here for a long time.
Yes, it has.
And widely used and abused. So second question is, what are some indicators that someone is actually doing good or on the journey? What do you use as some indicators to know that someone kind of means it, or they're not manipulating? Maybe they've given
Right.
up a little bit of the manipulation.
Well, for me, like, you know, I know myself and women I work with and other peers that I work with, like, when they say I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but I'm not going to a 6 month program. I'm only going to a 30-day program. I want to go home first. I want to do this first. You know, that what that says is you're not willing. You're willing to do what you want to do. So I mean that, and that's fine for them if that's what they want to do. But
What would you think if I told you that? Let's say that we met because I was in the White County Jail.
I would think that you really didn't want it. You just want to front. You just want to act like you want it. You know, for me, like when a lady asked me to sponsor her, I ask her, what is she willing to do? And she says, in the paper that she writes, it's usually whatever that you ask me to do. You know, and because that's probably what you're supposed to say. Like whatever, you know, I'm willing to go to any lengths. Okay, well, I want you to call me every day. I don't say that call me every day. And I'll tell you why, because I didn't call my sponsor every day. So therefore, if you tell me to do something every day, and then I'm gonna be like, man, I'm not going to that meeting because she's there and she told me to call her every day and I didn't. So now she's running from me. You know, that's just too much. I keep it simple, you know, call me. And well, basically I just say call me, but like, you know, and then as we're talking, I do little assignments. I get her working on the steps.
Yeah.
She's going with the flow. We're looking for jobs. We're getting our kids back. You know, we are making movements. We're not just talking, like walking the walk. You know, it's recovery is not easy. And I always share, like, recovery is not for sissies. You know, it's easy to go get high, ruin your life, and as hard as that is, it's a lot easier than coming in, looking at yourself, looking at the destruction you've caused, and on a daily basis, be the best person that you can be, and trying to maybe not fix everything that you've broken, but lead a healthy life to where you're not breaking anything else. And stuff just comes together. You know, it just, people always tell me since I've been here, trust the process. You know, and I hate to hear that when I'm in the middle of something, like, trust the process.
Yeah.
So what I my experience is, I would say, when they start accomplishing those short-term and long-term goals, when they start checking them off, then you know, oh, this guy, this girl might be for real. And dealing with people that are incarcerated or in jail, their willingness to get out is all the way up here, but their willingness to recover is all the way down here.
Yeah.
You know, so with my experience, I just plant those seeds and let their higher power of their understanding take care of the rest. You know. But yeah, when they start those short-term goals, when they start accomplishing them, checking them off, and then moving on to the next one, yeah.
So the short-term goals sometimes are I mean, they're pretty small. I can remember the first time I started volunteering inside prison, and we taught a authentic manhood class. Mm-hmm. And we printed certificates at the end of the class, and we gave them out. And this one guy kind of broke down and he cried, and he said, "I've never accomplished anything."
Right.
Yeah.
In my life. And I was thinking, you know, this was it. But for that man at that time, that was a pretty significant accomplishment for him, because we asked him to do some real work.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a good course, but still, I mean, he was in prison. We had the best thing going on besides lunch.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was, what else are you going to do at this time? Listen to your cellie, you know, talk about his truck some more.
Right.
But it was a big deal for him. He had put a lot of himself in there.
Because
So-
you know, it is a big deal to accomplish little tasks. It is a big deal, and everybody likes for you to say, you know, good job. You know, you're doing it.
It's the work that they put in.
Yeah, it makes
It's
us
the
feel
big
good.
deal. It's not the certificate. It's not it's the journey. It's all the work that they put in. It's the opening up in front of another person where
Right.
you would never open up about these feelings. You know, that's where the work is. And yeah.
For me, coming in and being nice people, boosted my self-esteem, my confidence. I didn't
Boy,
even
can I
know.
talk about that? Y'all should have seen her before she got on camera. Holy smokes.
You know, I
Poor
realized
Helen.
like God wants me to be nice and help people. You know, that was accomplishments for me.
I'm playing. She's been real nice the entire time she's here.
Right where he
We still got about 30 minutes to go, though, so we'll see. Camera's back on you, so watch it. So, by the way, Jimmy McGill just said to tell y'all that he was so proud of y'all.
Time we said thank you.
And so I think he's still watching.
Thanks, Jimmy.
And in fact, anyone else watching right now, if you've got any questions for Kelly or for Russell, you can go ahead and put them in chat and I'll try to ask them. But also, this is, we're looking at, this is a multi-part kind of series. We wanted to talk about what's the mindset of someone that is, wants to start the journey of recovery. And then what I'd love to have y'all back and do is talk about the 12 steps so we can familiarize folks with what that is.
Okay.
There are many sayings that I've heard folks in recovery over the years say that I think are very useful. There's a whole lot of wisdom packed in that little bitty statement.
There is.
I'd like to have a show where we're just unpacking some of those. Because again, it's like a parable, right? There's a bunch of wisdom packed in a sentence or a short statement. But here, let's continue to focus on, how is it that we could equip community members, alliance members of 100 families to engage, to understand how their engagement is healthy, maybe some skills on engaging. So we talked about, celebrate small wins.
Right. It's
'Cause it
funny
means a
you
lot.
were talking about parables. When I first got to recovery, you couldn't tell me anything. Like I knew everything. I just knew everything. And so my counselor there, he would talk to me in parables. Before you knew it, like I'm leaving his office and I'm like, hey, you know what I'm fixing to go do? And he's just smiling at me like, because this is basically what he told me to do.
Read the Bible.
But he didn't know, just different things like simple things, but he just said it in a way that I thought I had done come up with the idea. So I was willing to do it, like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do that right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we do want to be a part of our recovery, even though we may not know exactly which way we want to go. We don't want to feel helpless, like you're telling us what to do, because as a person in addiction, I don't like being told what to do, even though I needed someone to tell me what to do. But you're going to have to kind of
empower me.
Yeah, empower me. You're going to have to kind of put that little trick to the side that you're actually putting in front of me what to do. But as long as I'll bite the bait and think I did it, well, then I'm going to do it. And I'm going to enjoy doing it. I'm going to feel like I've done something. And, and even with the peers I work with, like I just sit there because.
This is like the worst addict right now, the worst functioning addict, believe it or not, does not want to be an addict.
Oh, that's true.
They sincerely want to get their life together, and if the alliance members in society and communities and churches and the people that have the powers can look at it like that, then that could be monumental to change.
So I do have a question for you. This is just a little off, but it's talking about why people use. Because I think the data experience, and I think I could point at some data and hold up in a formal debate that that environments are pretty. Well, Charlie Munger, the great investor, he said, if you show me the incentive, I'll tell you what the outcome's going to be. And so there are some environments in which there's such stress or trauma that economic class. If you can't make the rent every day, you're getting kicked out. You can't provide, and you feel about that small. That probably leads itself pretty easily to an escape, would it not?
Yes.
Well, I mean, economically wise, in certain classes, drugs is used as a way to make money, a way to live just above the poverty level, you know? So, yeah, drugs in some communities, if not abused, are sold just because they don't have the opportunity to get that job and live a healthy lifestyle, you know?
So it's not great, but it's one of the very few ways that they may
Make lemonade. It's how some people
got
make
lemons.
lemonade.
They're
Yeah.
making lemonade. Okay. So, well, that was just I'm kind of thinking that's a wonderful reason why we should engage in community development
Yeah.
and as hard as we can, try to change the
It's
incentives.
hard to be something that you can't see. And that's what's powerful about this peer movement. Because there's some woman out there that wants to change, but she can't see it. But when she sees someone like this get her life together and keep it together, um, do what she's doing to keep her family whole, she can see that. And it's easier to want to become that when you can see it.
You know, I've had a lot of people that I know from addiction see me. They'll come in a meeting or they'll see me on the street. They'll be looking at me all crazy. I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" And they're like, "Oh my God, you have sat there still for like," because I was a real bopper, you know.
Yeah.
so, so I was sitting there still, and they're looking at me just like, "Wow, you know, you." When I come into the program, I had yellow hair. I was bleached out. I wore these little leggings, this little tank top, this little scarf around. And I would have to walk through the meeting like 2 or 3 times to go to the bathroom. You know, I could have went the other way and wasn't no one there, but and my sponsor's like, "Hey, you need to set your butt down somewhere." I don't know why I told you that story.
So
But
Kelli, if
what
you don't,
she's saying is it's powerful when somebody sees her
Yeah.
and they're like, hey,
yeah,
you're not that same person no more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
didn't you used to wear a
definitely
scarf?
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I knew the one because
it
you
was
know
August.
Yeah.
I would have to sit on my hands. You know, I just couldn't.
Couldn't sit still.
I couldn't sit still. And when we have our coinings today, they're like, "Wow, they never thought they would see me here." You know, they never thought I was. When I come in, they're like, "She's not going to make it."
Yeah.
And here
And
I am,
that's-
almost 5 years later.
So how long, if you don't mind me telling, you don't have to answer, but kind of how long were you actively in your addiction?
20 plus years.
Over 20 years.
Mhm.
And so there's probably several individuals who knew you for a number of years
Oh
and
yes.
might not have believed that you were.
Never would have believed. Never would have believed.
Russell, how long were you kind of
15 plus.
15 plus?
And you know, my addiction followed me to prison. So, and in prison, it's just all day, every day. It's around you. You wake up wanting to do drugs. If you don't have the money to do drugs, people are around you doing it. You go to sleep, they're doing it. It's something constant. But yeah, 15 plus years. And going in and out of prison, those times, and to have 5 years clean and sober now and doing what I'm doing in the career field that I've chosen, I constantly meet men. Like, man, I was in prison with you, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some of them cry and congratulate me and want to know the secret of how I did it, you know.
What do you tell them?
Man, put that hard work in, you know. That's what's going to separate a functioning addict from a recovering addict is that hard work you put in. I think there's some saying I think Kevin Hart said it.
Excuse me.
Everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to put the work in. And to go back to your other question, you'll see by their actions.
Yeah. You know, I've doing this for a number of years. I've seen people come in and out. We buried people, unfortunately. and I'll just share with you my experience has been that my first impressions of someone are usually wrong. The person's real talkative and they've got all this great personality, and you see all this latent talent within them, right? That's not necessarily the person that ends up doing the work. And the person that's real reserved or is throwing their scarf around and walking through the
I know I'm
Right.
coughing. I'm up
Right.
here embarrassed. I'm like, why did I tell that
right,
story?
is walking through the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I was a felon that magnet.
right. It's and so I've learned from folks like y'all often that I try to hold my judgment, and I just try to do, is to provide an opportunity, a small opportunity, and if they'll take this, if they make good on that small opportunity, it's the next thing, right? It's the
Yeah.
next opportunity, and just see how far someone could go. And there are people around the state now who are doing things. They're in positions of leadership that are significant. They're doing real works that are helping real families. And every day they wake up and they're entering in the Jerry Springer dysfunction, chairs getting thrown at each other. I mean, just all of that. And they're bringing peace. But I knew them back in the day when they went back in the third time, since I knew them.
Yeah.
Their mama watched them go back 5 times.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And I'd just go, I mean, he gets out this next time. I don't know that he's got one more trip in him. I think he's dead. And then all of a sudden, it was just, that was it.
It's a beautiful thing when an addict flips that switch to change their life and commits to changing their life, because they already come with the passion and desire to reach out and help that struggling addict. It's like a given. I don't know what it is.
Right. And someone told me the other day, they said, as long as I keep that spark that I got from the beginning of my recovery, I'm going to be okay. And I get that because I still have that passion. I still want to be clean. Choosing recovery and working my program, that is the first thing in my life that I've made my choice that I wanted to do, that I'm doing it. My same counselor, I just love, he helped me so much. I was in there telling him because about how I never did do anything on myself. I was spoiled. I was this, I was that. He went and handed me this picture, and it had a mother of carrying her kids' laundry, and it had the step work on top. And it said, "Here, baby, here's your step work. I did. It's sitting on your laundry. I got it done for you." And I was offended there for a minute, but I'm like, okay, I get it. I got to do my own step work. I got to go. I got to persevere on my own. I got to fight through my own struggles. And, a lot of my weaknesses that I used to consider weaknesses are like my strengths today. Like
What?
I can
The pain and agony and all the stuff you went through.
well,
Your
that,
story.
but I trudge along. I'm not running from my problems. I'm not, do I embarrass myself like I just did with the little story? All the time. Sometimes I just cannot be quiet. I mean, I just like, Kelly, can you just be quiet? Like with my supervisor, I'll go in there. I always say something stupid. And I practice before I go in there sometimes. I'm like, okay, so this is what we're going to say, and we're not going to add nothing to it, and I go in there and I always say something that I leave, and I'm like, really, Kelly? But I keep going no matter what. I'm not going to give up just because I don't know how to do something, or because I feel like I've embarrassed myself, or because I feel like I'm not doing it perfect. Because I'm my worst critic. Like I am if someone talked to me like I talk to myself, I would probably be in prison. Because I talk bad to myself sometimes, but I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit no matter what. I don't always win, but I never lose until I do dope, or until I give up, or until I turn my back on everything I've done. I don't lose, and that's the way I feel about it. Like there's always room for growth, and I am going to make mistakes, and I am going to do some, there's just things I'm going to do that I can't let just quit over,
Right.
I have to remind myself I'm human, and it's not because I'm an addict or recovering addict. It's just because I'm human,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be telling myself that on the way home. I'll be like, Kelly, you're human. Don't worry about what you said. Don't worry about what you said.
Hey, I've got a question here. I've just put it up here on the screen. How can someone get in touch with you, if they wanted to get help?
Okay, so my office is in the Searcy Police Department. Can I get my number right now?
Sure.
My number is 501-322-2061. My email is Kelly, KELLI .McHughes, MCHUGHES .org.
They could just come to the
Police station.
to
yeah.
the police station.
Yeah, some of yeah, some a
How's
lot
that
of people
gonna
don't
work
want to
out?
do that. I forget that too. I was going to have a little group. My friend said, Kelly, we're not coming to the police station. I'm like, oh yeah, because I done got to know how nice they are. They're
Sure.
nothing like what I thought they were, and
Right.
The
people just
stigma.
don't know that. So I'm like, come on down. They're like, no, not yet.
That's right. They may have a bad day if they're putting up with someone wearing a scarf in August. You know what I
And
mean?
heels can't even walk.
Russell, if someone wanted to get a hold of you for some help, how would they do that?
Bat signals usually work. After 12 o'clock, just send a bat signal. No, you can email me at russellboyd83@gmail.com. It's the best way to get a hold of me.
That's good. Are there peer specialists in other parts of the state?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're everywhere.
If someone were looking for like a fellowship, a 12-step fellowship, is there a website that they could go and find one close to them?
Yes, there is. I know they have NA apps, they have AA apps. You could probably just put in 12-step meetings in your Google.
Near me.
Near me,
Yeah,
yeah. Call me. They're go on Facebook. I mean, we're everywhere. Help is everywhere.
There's a website for the peers.
And the family members of.
And
There's groups for them too.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that to a family member
Oh,
who's
God,
has a
yes.
loved one?
Yes, because like I was saying in the beginning, that addict has a family. They just didn't poof out of thin air. They belong to someone. They have a bloodline.
That's right.
They have people that love them too.
Hey, Kelly, you've got a friend here, a lady that you may know, that said that she was one of the people who saved her life. It's Tamara.
Oh, hi, Tamara. Yes, I love her.
So she said that smile and personality made me feel comfortable and accepted.
She's supposed to come help me rake my yard the other day too.
Just putting that out there.
By the way.
So there you go, Tamara. Thanks for comments, but the leaves ain't moving themselves.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, I want to thank both of y'all for what you do and for
thank
being
you.
here today. I'd like to have you back. And, a number of years ago, it may be 10 years ago now, a good friend of mine, Paul Stevens, who's been in recovery for decades now, helped me understand the 12 steps, kind of their origins, the decisions. It's really a set of decisions or beliefs
Right.
that you have before you move on. And it was very helpful to me. In fact, it was so helpful that we put a large group from the church together, all these church leaders and a lot of their spouses. And Stevens took us through again and everyone. So it was kind of a brief overview so you could understand with links to kind of here's some resources you could go more in depth, but everybody had to do a step 5.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know what step 5 is, then we're going to get there in a kind of a future session together. Any parting shots, anything that you would like to leave an Alliance member with?
With this idea that, an addict, even the worst addict doesn't want to be an addict, and that they do have the ability to recover. just with the right love, support, it could happen. You can change, maybe not the world, but you can change a person. You know,
Right.
that's what I believe.
And for me, I think I would just say keep it simple. You know, start out with the baby steps. Give us a starting point without telling us the starting point. You know, it's something I think that we have to have the little accomplishments of our own choices, because if they're our choices, then we're going to do them.
Yeah.
Whether you have to sneak them in on us or not, you know,
Right.
for me, like, however they got in my mind, I did them. And I'm glad I did them. And it was like epiphany, like ding, ding, ding. That, you know, I've been doing it wrong forever, but once you tell me I'm doing it wrong, just kind of slide me in a different way to do
Right.
it.
That's so good. Well, thanks, y'all. Really do appreciate it. And
Yeah,
we'll be
thank you.
back and we'll talk about the 12 steps.
All right. Thanks for having me.